Hey guys, John Lee Dumas here, founder and host of EO Fire, and you're listening to Bravepreneur Parents Academy with Bolaji O. Are you ready to face your greatest childhood fear? Prepare to ignite.
Welcome to Bravepreneur Parents Academy, where the world's most inspiring entrepreneurs reveal their most defining childhood moments and share their legacy for raising brave little heroes who will grow up to change the world. And now, he still reads comic books under the blanket at bedtime. Please welcome your host, best-selling author, award-winning speaker, and self-confessed geek dad, Bolaji O. You know, like the hotel in Vegas? Yeah, no, that's really his name. Bolaji O.
All right, hello everyone. This is Bolaji O, and welcome to the Bravepreneur Parents Academy, where the world's most inspiring entrepreneurs reveal their most defining childhood moments and share their legacy for raising brave little heroes. Today, I'm so excited, ladies and gentlemen, because we get to talk to the man, the legend. They call him Hogan Hilling. He's the founder of the Dadly Rally. He's the author of 8 parenting books. He's a fatherhood expert that's appeared on Oprah. If you don't know Hilling, after today, you're going to remember that name. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Hogan Hilling. Welcome, Hogan.
Bolaji, good to hear from you. This is the most exciting greeting I've ever experienced. I'm excited to be on your show, and I'm actually excited for you, and congratulations on putting this podcast together.
Thank you very much, sir. I am a big fan of your work, and I appreciate you making the time. So, Hogan, today I'd like to jump right into it because you've got a whole bunch of really fascinating stories. I mean, I anticipate seeing your story on the big screen one day. It's just that compelling. So, Hogan, I want to introduce my friends to your story. Could you take us back to the beginning? Let's go back to your childhood, Hogan, first and foremost. So tell us a little bit about your dad and growing up with him.
Well, my fatherhood tenure is about as unconventional as my childhood years. I did not have a dad in my life. I was born in Brazil. I'm Dutch Indonesian. I'm 6'6". You don't see too many tall Asians. I was born in Brazil. My mom and dad decided to divorce when I was 2 years old. My mom decided to move my brother and I to the Netherlands, where we lived for 3 or 4 years. Then my mom decided to come to the United States to make a better life for all of us. And she did a wonderful job raising 2 boys, moved to New Orleans, and then wound up settling in California. Throughout my childhood years, people would always ask, where's your dad? And I'd have to say he's not around. And because of our culture, the way we looked at fatherhood back then and divorce, I was made to think that, my dad was a deadbeat dad. The fact that he wasn't there for me. And my mom never talked about my dad. So it was very painful whenever it was brought up, because when I went home, I knew there wasn't a dad there. I had to learn a lot on my own. My mom worked 2 jobs. She was never really around, but for a good reason. She's trying to provide for us. And when I reached high school, I kind of resigned myself to the fact that I'd never ever see my dad again. So here I am trying to find out who I am and what I want to do with really no male guidance at all. And, people say, well, you have coaches and you have other people, but, nothing's like the real thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And at age 29, I was a self-made businessman without any college education. And at age 29, I discovered my dad was still alive.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty awesome. His name's Hank. And, I guess I had a different attitude when I heard my dad was alive. It was like, oh, wow, okay, I get a chance to see the guy that was supposed to be my dad, and maybe I'll learn a little bit more about who I am. And like I said, I think I mentioned it, my mom never talked about my dad. And So I didn't really know who he was. And I decided, you know what, let's just see what happens. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to take a different approach than most men would and embrace this whole reunion. Wrote a letter. He wrote back. Eventually, phone call. One of the highlights of my life.
Wow.
And then I suggested I come to Brazil and visit him for several months, and he agreed that I could come over and stay for 6 months.
Wait, so you picked up from the U.S. and went to Brazil?
Yeah, I closed down my business, and I said I just felt I felt that it was more important to rekindle this relationship, and all the money in the world cannot buy the opportunity to do this. So I closed down my business and got on a plane and went down to Brazil, met my stepmom, stepsisters. From the moment I got off that plane, they embraced me as one of their own. So it was the first time I really had an experience of being with a family.
Wow.
And then as the months passed, there really wasn't time for Hank and I to be alone. But I learned so much about him. But at the same time, I thought to myself, we would have had a hard time living together because we had so much in common in terms of, our shortcomings and all that stuff. But I'll tell you, I gained so much respect for him in the way that he was involved with his kids, the things that he did. I mean, every day I just admired him more and more. And, it's kind of a true testament to the fact that fatherhood is a universal language. It doesn't matter what country you're at. Fatherhood issues don't discriminate. They're all the same. Every dad has the same issues. They want to be the best dad they can be for their kids.
Yeah.
So one day, Hank invited me to go to one of his projects that he was working on out in the jungle. And as we're driving down the road, it just kind of seemed so surreal. It was almost like a scene out of a movie.
This was the Amazon?
No, this is kind of Curitiba. It was in south part of Brazil, but there's still jungle down there.
Uh-huh.
So we're driving down the road. It's almost like a scene out of a movie. Father and son in a car driving, and just talking about life. And all of a sudden, he pulls off the side of the road, and he starts crying and starts sharing his side of the story. And he told me that, he tried to contact us. The letters came back. Our mother wouldn't allow him to correspond, neither would the family members. So there's this blockade that was put up that he couldn't get through. And so finally he just, he gave up, like what dad wouldn't after being rejected like that, and just went on with his life. And then he said, will you please forgive me? And I told him there's nothing to forgive. I said, I'm happy for this opportunity, and I'm sorry that you had to go through this. And at that point in time, something just hit me, because as I explained earlier, it was so painful to have life without a dad. And I was thinking more about the pain that I was going through. And here I have this father who is crying in front of me, and I realized that he missed me more than I missed him.
Wow. And
that's when a few days after that experience, I started thinking to myself, and I was single at the time, I said, you know what, if I ever become a father, I'm never, ever going to let my kids not have a dad in their life. And then I made another pact for selfish reasons, and that was I wanted to be involved, Dad, because I never, ever want to feel the pain that my dad ever felt.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So
that's what drove me to be passionate about the work I do, and a lot of what I do is in the name of my father, Hank.
Wow, wow. Hogan, you and I had. Go ahead.
Let me just share. I mean, the reason I say I mention Hank is when I write my signature, it's similar to Hank's signature. Hank used to always sign his name just with a big H, and that was it. So every time I sign a book, it's the big letter H with a big long line through it, and underneath the parallel line is OGAN.
Wow, I love that. So Hogan, this all transitioned this meeting with your father and rekindling of a relationship when you were 29 and I guess approaching age 30. How did you then transition into fatherhood yourself?
Very difficult time for me. Honestly, I became a father not because I wanted to be one, because my wife wanted to be a mom. And I was not prepared for it. And again, I had no role model. Back then, there were no support systems for dads in the same manner that they are now. I mean, we still need to improve on that. So I was going by the seat of my pants.
Wow.
If there's anything my experience proves, is that any dad is capable of any man is capable of being a nurturing dad, and that they have the same instincts that a mom does.
Interesting.
But the experience was very lonely. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it later. But in addition to trying to juggle, at the time I owned a business and my wife was a school teacher. Being an entrepreneur, I tried to balance to have enough time to spend with the kids and not overwork myself, and which is one of the reasons I did that. But then I made a decision to be the full-time at-home parent after the second son was born.
Interesting. And you mentioned your passion. Every time I speak to you, Hogan, you have such a deep-seated passion for fatherhood. Hearing the story about your childhood and Hank is exceptionally moving. And to hear how you transitioned into a lonely fatherhood and didn't have the support systems that really, even though they exist today, perhaps a lot of fathers aren't even taking advantage of them like they should. I really am getting a good feel for why you're so passionate about fatherhood. But why do you think it is, Hogan, that fathers don't have perhaps as much of a support system as maybe our moms do?
Well, let me first begin saying that part of my passion isn't just my experience with Hank and my experience with my kids. I've been very fortunate because of all the wonderful dads that I've been in contact with in the years that I was a dad. And I mean, it's another testament as to why it's so important for dads to network. And to answer you, could you repeat that question again?
Yeah, I was wondering, why do you think it is that dads don't have as much of a support system in terms of fatherhood that perhaps moms have?
It's a combination of both. I think one is our culture has kind of indoctrinated this whole notion that moms are the mom knows best when it comes to being a parent, that they have the instinct and nurturing skills. I think everybody most people I talk to would agree that the parenting community is mom biased. It's not, and is also not very father friendly. But it's a two-way street. One of my messages to the dads is that, okay, so there is no support system that's equal to what's available for moms. Our culture has designed it that way. But on the other hand, what are we doing to contribute to that? I coined a phrase: if you want a father-friendly environment, act like a friendly father, especially to other dads. And we are not kind to our own gender. I mean, why aren't guys showing up to these classes? Why aren't they attending parenting classes? Especially when kids need the dads the most. Dads are ingrained with this whole idea that we have to be a dad in a certain way. That the provider, financial provider, is the role that we're supposed to play. Well, if you look at the feminist movement, we were telling women to stay in the kitchen, and the next thing you know, they stood up and said, hey, we want equal rights in the working world.
Workplace.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now with this whole transition of at-home dads, me being one of them in 1991 when I came out of the pantry. I hope you guys get all that. Got that joke, okay? Right. Men started showing that they were capable of being in the household and managing the kids and et cetera, et cetera. And, a true testament to that is I was an at-home dad for 20 years and my kids are still breathing. So, men are capable of raising kids. But men just don't support each other emotionally in the way that women do. So we can really learn a lot from the moms. And the reason that those support systems for moms exist is because the moms join together to create all the support network. And the dads, for whatever reason, well, I know what the reason is. It's their ego. They're not
really.
I was on a radio show one time, and they asked me, what's the one piece of advice you'd give a dad? And I said, set your ego aside, because setting your ego aside means you got to ask for help. You got to ask for resources. You have to learn different things on how to be today's modern dad, and that means attending workshops, reaching out to neighborhood dads. The internet has helped a little bit because dads get behind the computer screen and they feel safe and comfortable in that environment, because a lot of this whole notion of sharing your feelings in public is not the macho thing to do. So I think most of the reason guys don't share their feelings is because our culture continually questions their masculinity. And I had a rough time with that. I mean, look at my unconventional role, deciding to give up a business or trade in. I traded in a business for a better role as an at-home dad. And, the first couple of years, I knew in my heart that I was making the right decision. Mm-hmm. But everybody around me, including my wife, who is the mother of my children, and all my family members and friends and strangers I would meet, were like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be staying home taking care. You don't belong there.
Wow.
And so it wasn't a matter, my struggle wasn't with me. It was with the people around me that kept telling me that I shouldn't be doing this. And so what I decided to do is I decided to start standing up for myself. And that's one of the messages I'm trying to send to the men, is that you don't even realize you're being emasculated. And a lot of times what guys do is when they hear this message about, you're not supposed to change diapers, or, mom's supposed to be doing that. And when even their own gender questions their masculinity, they don't know how to stand up for themselves. And, maybe I was an advantage because I'm at 6'6". I'm a little intimidating, but I just wasn't going to stand for it. And I finally told people, I said, you know what? I love what I do, and I'm not going to make any excuses for it. And it opened up a whole new world, because I started seeing my role as a father in a whole different way, and I started enjoying. I enjoyed every second I had at home with the kids. It has its challenges, just as life in general has, but there were more great things going on through the course of each day with my kids than there were horrible things.
That's really, really profound. Man, you hit on a lot of stuff there, Hogan. And one of the things that I think it causes a visceral reaction in perhaps both dads and moms is the concept of father as a breadwinner versus perhaps being more present. And maybe versus is even the wrong word, because ideally, if a father wants, he ought to be able to earn income, but also be present. A lot of folks might say, perhaps from your generation, from my generation, might say that, okay, my dad was great, but he was always working. My dad was great, but we didn't spend that much quality time together. So in certain generations, fathers really had to, perhaps by necessity, focus on earning income to keep the lights on and keep food on the table. But how do today's modern dads balance that desire to be the breadwinner with the desire for quality time with their kids?
Okay, here's the reality, all right? A couple gets married. Somebody has to make the income in order to survive.
That's a reality.
Okay, can we all agree with that reality?
Yes.
Where the problem lies is judgment. And that's why I created the Dadly Rally, which is at www.dadlyrally.com. Mm-hmm. We need to start creating a safe, non-judgmental environment where couples, based on their personal choices on what kind of family dynamics they want. Okay, if the couple, and again, it goes back to communication. If the husband and wife would like the dad to be the traditional breadwinner, then so be it. Then follow that path. If both parents want to work, okay, and they can balance both work and raising kids, which some parents are able to do, or if they want to do at-home dad and the mom being the primary breadwinner, or whatever family dynamic it is, okay? It really is all about balancing. And the other thing, too, is that, like you said, back generations ago, dads were told, you're just supposed to be the breadwinner. But I've heard stories from grandparents that said, the dads have said, oh, I wish I could have been more involved, but that I was told not to play that role. But back, to the whole family, the whole balancing work and family with a father is that, we've been really hard on some of these dads that, for example, a dad that's in the military. Yes. Or a police officer, or a dad that's a doctor that's out there trying to save other people's lives that has to put all kinds of hours at the hospital, okay?
Right.
Are we going to look at that guy and say, well, oh, you're not spending enough time with your kids and judge him? And that's what we've done in our culture. When we see a kid playing baseball and his dad's not there, we've been indoctrinated to social, oh, that dad's not there, he must be a deadbeat, why isn't he here? They start questioning why he's not here. And instead of prejudging him based on the fact that he's not there, instead of asking the child, what does your dad do for a living? And if the kid says, oh, he's in the military, well, then all of a sudden your mindset changes.
Right.
But we don't go there. And so, there are dads that are out there that also have to travel for business. Okay. So they might be gone 2 or 3 weeks of the month, or maybe a week out of the month. I mean,
right.
Working moms are experiencing that now. There are corporate women who have children who are gone away for months, and we have actually at-home dad situations where the wife is gone 2 weeks out of the month. So now they're experiencing the role that the dads were in at one time. So, each dad has to decide for himself, and that's where I go back to stop allowing people to emasculate you. If you have decided that this is what your career choice is, and it involves having to work 60 to 70 hours, and you're doing your best to balance that by being present for your kids on the weekend, or maybe, you could still talk to your employer and say, hey, can I go to my son's school once a month? I don't think that's out of the question to ask your company, and it's not out of the realm for a company to give you permission to do that. We're talking one day out of the month.
Right.
Just to go visit for lunch, or to maybe participate in the PTA meetings or whatever. But dads have to, it really is upon dads at this point as a modern day father to dictate what kind of dad he wants to be. And secondly, let other people know this is the course I've decided. I want to be an at-home dad, or I want to be a flex-time dad or working dad. I'm doing everything I can to balance my life to provide for my family. But he's got to communicate that with his wife. And that's where we stumble a little bit, that we're afraid to talk to our wives because in our heart we know what we want, but we don't know how to communicate it. And then we're also afraid that our wives might reject the path that we would like to go as a father.
Interesting.
Can I give an example of this?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, certainly.
For example, a mom could be at home, and one of the things moms do sometimes is they spend too much money. They overextend themselves. And I'm not saying they do this intentionally. They do it unknowingly as well. And I'm going to use a sports example. A mom might think, I'm doing a good thing by putting Johnny in baseball or sports or some activity, because that's what people do now. It used to be in my days, kids would just play in the neighborhood. Well,
right. All the kids are signed up now.
But if you sign the kid up, it costs money. Then you got to pay for the equipment, the gas money to drive the kid over there, the snacks that they do. I mean, we've just gotten overboard with this stuff, right? So here, a dad comes home, and me as a dad, I want to come home and I want to play catch with my kid. I don't want to be going to his practice and watching him play catch with other kids. Okay, now, at the end of the month, the bill comes up, because you got to pay for registration, you got to pay for the baseball mitt, for the bat, for all these extra items that come with it. And if the mom is overspending, the dad looks at the credit card bill and goes, the message to him is not to spend more time with the kid. He's got to work harder to pay these bills. And moms don't recognize that. And so, if a mom is overextending her budget, she's essentially telling him, he needs to work harder and spend more time at the office. Well, if you're doing that as a mom, and please don't take this the wrong way, moms, but if you're not focused on helping your husband balance the checkbook, how is he going to be able to balance time to be an involved husband and father to your kids? Now, on the other spectrum, the dads aren't communicating this very well to the moms. Stand up and say, look, I'm feeling pressure at work, and or if I'm not happy at work, is there any way we can make a transition to where I take on a job that's less pay so that I could spend more time with the kids? Those conversations are unheard of because people are afraid to talk about these issues. And that's why I put the Dadly Rally together, is to create a safe and non-judgmental environment. And in my rally, what is different than any other fatherhood conference that has ever been provided is that I invite all dads. I do not discriminate. We're not here to start putting labels on dads. We're all dads. And, the way I look at it is that whenever your child introduces you to another friend, he doesn't say, this is my Dutch Indonesian, 6'6", born in Brazil, at home, but he doesn't put all the adjectives in front of the word dad.
Right.
And, you can tell I'm very passionate about this because the kid just turns around and he says, this is my dad.
Yeah.
So if you're a divorced dad, the kid's not going to turn around and say, oh, this is we can learn a lot of lessons from kids, okay? And we turn around and we say, this is my dad.
That's true. That's a good point. Very interesting, Hogan. And so the Dadly Rally is something that you've put together to allow dads to support each other. I really love that concept. Hogan, how do you feel dads do? I've got to admit, as a dad myself, I have 2 young kids. My kids are still younger, ages 8 and 5 at the time of this recording, and life is so busy, especially with young kids. There's work, there's the home life, there's taking care of everything. I don't necessarily get to hang out with dads in the neighborhood very often, or even talk to, say, older dads who have raised their kids. They're maybe 10 or 20 years ahead of me. What opportunities do you think exist for dads to start having these conversations, even before, say, they get to a Dadly Rally?
Well, the opportunities are there. You don't even need to attend a Dadly Rally. But the Dadly Rally is trying to educate dads. And the Dadly Rally is just not about dads. Our mission statement is to support moms and dads in their quest to be involved parents. Okay, so if the Dadly Rally, go to the Dadly Rally and read the mission statement. I don't want to give it verbatim, because I'm lost in thought here, but the opportunity for a dad in every community is there. The problem is the dads are not out there asserting themselves. Just because I'm starting this Dadly Rally doesn't mean, like, for example, the National At-Home Dad Network, dads have started playgroups there, okay, in some of the communities that they're in. But not every at-home dad has done that because they feel uncomfortable. Well, my whole spiel with fatherhood is that I'm going to make you feel comfortable about being uncomfortable, okay? I used to be an introvert, but I decided, I needed to change my behavior to make a safe and comfortable environment for people to embrace me as a dad. Wow. See, we had it backwards. We were asking society to embrace us as men, but it's the opposite. We need to go out there and show by our actions that we can be equal parents and that we can be nurturing, that we can do all this stuff that people say that we can't do. And so, examples of this is I think there's New York City Dads Group. They started these dads groups where it's actually a mix of at-home dads, divorced dads, single dads, so they've kind of tapped into the mainstream a little bit. But all they do is they get together as a group. They really don't expand and deal with issues. They're just still getting together at bars and restaurants and at playgrounds with their kids, but they really don't discuss their issues. They do to some extent, but not in a way that should be, and they really don't. It's the whole Dad Reality concept is kind of like taking it to the next level.
Yeah, we don't like to do that, Hogan. We don't like to talk about our issues, man. What are you doing here? You're tugging on Superman's cape.
Yeah,
I'm invincible, Hogan.
No.
I got no issues.
But anyway, I mean, just a simple thing like this, okay?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if, I'm an at-home dad, and I walk over to another dad's house, and I go there and introduce myself. Hey, David, I realize that you work a lot, and, I really admire that you're, and again, guys think if I do this, it's going to be like, touchy-feely and, and I'm going to be vulnerable and all that stuff. Come on, give me a break, all right? You're reaching out. You're being a human being, and you're reaching out to another dad, and you're letting him know I'm in the community, and I have the luxury of being an at-home dad. I'm here, most of the time, and I realize that you're working a lot. I just want you to know that if there's anything I can do to help you juggle your balance, with work and family, like if, for example, maybe he needs yard work done or something or whatever, and instead of doing yard work, he can go take his kid out to Disneyland or whatever he wants to do with his kid. So we're not doing these kinds of things, or just let him know, hey, listen, I'm here for you, blah, blah, blah. You want to grab a beer or something like that? Oh, by the way, there's a dad's group starting here. Would you like to join me? It's a wonderful group, blah, 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 right? And the working dad could also, recognize and acknowledge the at-home dad that's in the community and go over there and introduce himself and say, hey, Hogan, I just want you to, I admire the choice that you made to not go to work and support your wife to be the breadwinner and pursue her career. And I just want you to know that if there's anything you need, just let me know. And I also want to share one other thing with you is that I really do appreciate you being the at-home parent because it deters burglars from coming around here. Because I know that if, a burglar's in the area and he sees a guy walking around, he's more apt not to be a threat.
Right.
And, you talk to any police officer and they'll tell you that's exactly true. So you see what I'm talking about? We're not doing these acting friendly to each other. And like even what happened to the baseball player Murphy. He's making millions of dollars and he's supposed to show up on opening day. And he tells his owner that he's not, and the manager that he's not going to be there because he's going to be in the hospital waiting for the birth of his son or his child, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, then his peers publicly get on the radio and tell him what a schmuck he is for not being there at opening day.
Wow.
What are we doing to each other? This is ridiculous. They should have said, oh, wow, this is a really nice trend. I just want to say hats off to Murphy for doing this. It's unconventional, but, he did the right thing. His peers weren't saying that.
Interesting.
They were bashing him and saying, you should have been there on opening day, blah, 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 blah. And, and dads do this to each other on a daily basis, but in a more subtle way. If a dad says, well, I got to go help out at the house, blah, 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 you know this. What's the first reaction you're going to get from your buddies? Oh, who wears the pants in the family? I don't know if I could use profanity on there, but, I've had guys give me a few choice words, right?
Wow.
Well, where are you standing up and turning around to your friends and going like, excuse me, guys, I like being with you. You're my friends, but when you guys cross the line, because I'm going home because I want to be an involved dad, and you're insulting my wife. And I don't like it. So, you guys can joke all you want, but, please don't do it in that manner. Okay. And if those guys don't embrace that and don't respect that, then they're not your frickin' friends. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But this is what I'm talking about, standing up for fatherhood, is to say what you need to say to people about your role as a parent. And, it sucks to have to defend yourself, but come on, that's part of your role as a father is to protect your family. And if they start insulting your wife, then you need to say something. And I say the same thing to moms, because moms do it too. One of the reasons I started the Dadly concept was because I got tired of the dad bashing, and I wanted to give dads an opportunity to have a platform where their voice could be heard. Right. I had an incident with a mom where she was explaining how her husband was being bashed, and I said, so, with backhanded comments and things like that. And I said, so what did you do? And she said, I said nothing. I said, wait a second. All this dad bashing is going on about a man that you chose to be the father of your children, and you're allowing other people to make backhanded comments and insult him, that's an insult to you. And even her parents. It happened in my case with my ex-wife. I mean, she'd come back and tell me some of the remarks that she was getting from her parents about my role as a father. And I said, what did you say? And she says, nothing. I go, like, you're not going to stand up for me? And a lot of guys would say, oh, what a wimp, Hogan. You know, what are you doing? Your wife is not standing up for you. Well, come on. It's a two-way street. I stand up for her. She needs to stand up for me. And, you know, I'm thinking, why don't you just say to your mom and dad and go like, Mom, Dad, this guy is doing an incredible job raising the kids. They're still alive and breathing, okay? And they're your grandchildren. Why don't you thank him for taking care of your grandchildren instead of calling him a bum, expecting him to go back to work?
Right.
My wife made the choice to be the breadwinner. You know, she could have said, you know, I chose to pursue this career. I wanted this career, and Hogan supported it. Why can't you see that? And look what he has had to endure. Okay? It's not only you questioning his masculinity. It's his parents. It's his friends. It's strangers he meets on the street. It's other moms. It's other dads. And we give the guy a break.
Wow. Wow.
Man, but you know, I'm just using me as an example, but you talk to a lot of at-home dads, and they'll say the same thing and go like, Hogan, you know, I constantly get my masculinity question. People constantly ask me, when are you going back to work? Do we ever ask moms that question that stay home?
No. Usually not anyway. That's a good point. And you're really giving a voice to a lot of dads who either are stay-at-home dads and have struggled with these things, or perhaps have, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, considered taking a job that takes up less time so they can have more quality.
Well, here's another interesting thing, too. If you think about at our culture, how we behave and how we're indoctrinated with this whole message of how moms need, you know, look, I'm not going to dispute that the fact that the best parent to stay home, the first selection should be the mom. There's no dispute there. But think about this. In our culture, what has been the second best choice? It hasn't been dad. It's been daycare. Strangers.
Yeah.
All right? You've never met these people before, but you're willing to let them watch your kid, right?
Well,
and then we joke about it. We go like, why would you leave your child with your husband at home alone? You're leaving him alone for an hour with your husband? What are you, crazy? Really? Come on, people, wake up. You know, that's the person that should be our second choice, is the dad, but it's not. And, you know, what do? We create movies like Daycare to make fun of the dads. Okay, and the other question is, if I had all-male child care center, I would bet that they would have a difficult time having kids enrolled in there.
And you're right.
And it's not just the moms; it's the dads too. I had a situation in the when I was living in the community where a mom had been dropping off her child just for me to watch, and for me it was like the more the merrier because I love kids. And she came back and she called me one day and said, "I have to stop dropping our son over there." And I said, "Why?" And she goes, "Because my husband won't let me anymore." Now the husband never came down to check me out or, you know, to talk to me or get to know me better. Again, preconceived notion is that don't ever leave a child alone with a man. And then at the same time, we're going like, we want dads to be nurturing, blah, blah, blah. Well, how many parents, now be honest parents who are listening to the show, and I practice what I preach, how many of you have ever hired a teenage boy to watch your kids? I have done that many times. How are we going to expect men to be able to nurture and ask them to be nurturers when we don't even allow teenage boys to learn how to do that? or give them an opportunity, or give them an opportunity to be. I will tell you, some of the boys that watch my kids were heads above some of the girls that I hired. They were actually more responsible and more compassionate, especially with my special needs child. I had two guys that were phenomenal. The passion and compassion and love and the commitment they made to my special needs child, you know, changing his diaper, giving him medication. They would take him in the car and drive him around. It was incredible. So don't discount teenage boys in terms of their ability to be babysitters.
That is definitely a paradigm shift. So
you're gonna call me, right, when you tell me that you've hired a teenage boy to watch the kids, okay? Promise me you're not gonna have a secret camera in the house either, right?
Baby steps, Hogan. Baby steps. But Hogan, before we get out of here, I want to know, and a lot of folks really are curious about how this passion of yours for fatherhood advocacy got you onto the Oprah show. How did that work out?
Well, again, that was just pure luck. Oprah was looking for an at-home dad, for at-home dads for her show. And so I had gotten a lot of media attention because of my advocacy. And this is before I wrote a book. But I had started the first dad's club in the United States in Irvine, California. So I was in the paper a lot. I was an anomaly, and also that's at the time when the At Home Dad Convention started, and we're in our 20th consecutive year. I'm going to Raleigh, North Carolina next week, but so I got a lot of media attention. So apparently her staff had Googled At Home Dads, and my name came up. Well, when they called, they didn't know that I had a child with special needs. So they were looking for something unique in At-Home Dad, but then it became more unique when they discovered that I had a child with special needs. And I had done a fathers and sons documentary show 2 years prior, and again, the good fortune was that it had been done on ABC, Channel 7.
Oh, okay.
So when they heard about this, they said, well, we'll get back to you in a couple days. And well, they called the next day because they watched the video, and you watched the video, right? I mean,
I did.
And the thing about that video, I want people to really, please watch it on www.daddlyrally.com. I think it's on the About page. That nothing was scripted. They just asked me to come in and speak from the heart. And the poem that I recite in there, I wrote that for my son Wesley. And so they saw that, and then they gave me an airline ticket, the free hotel. Oprah was very professional, very compassionate person. I got on stage, and I didn't know it, but they had a gift for me. I was the second dad to get on stage, and the first dad was on there. There was a week time span, and I got so caught up in, I'm going to be on Oprah, what I do, what I say, that it didn't even dawn on me that I might get something. And so, I was trying to enjoy the free hotel and the free food, okay? and the chauffeur that was picking me up and a limo and all that stuff. I mean, come on. I mean, last thing I was thinking about is getting a gift. Yeah. So the first father gets up there, and he's a football fan. So he got tickets, and, he got the red carpet treatment to a Tampa Bay football game. So, and nothing was scripted on their show. They just put us up there. And so they go to commercial break, and I'm going like, oh, shit, I'm getting something. And before I could think about what I was going to get, they call my name up, and I get up on stage, and we do an interview. And the video clip is only 4 minutes of what you see. But anyway, Oprah says, by the way, we have a gift for you. And she turns around and picks up a set of keys. And I look, and I'm going like, oh, my God, a set of keys. What does that mean? And next thing you know, she goes, she tells me that she just gave me a brand new van with a lift in it for my son because he's in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I mean, it was beautiful and brand new, right? And
wow.
And all of a sudden, I kind of froze, and everybody on this Oprah staff is telling me, walk to the van, walk to the van. I'm hugging Oprah. I'm walking to the van, and I'm frozen. I go like, get in the van, get in the van. So I got in the van and going, start the car. I'm honking the horn, I'm having a good old time, and it's, I'm still kind of in shock. And then they take me backstage, and then they said, well, if you'd like to take the van for a drive, go right ahead. I said, I'm in no condition to drive, but I could use a drink. Give me a drink, somebody.
Oh, man.
So it was a really fun experience, and, I'm very grateful. And it was a big shot in the arm, just for my whole family, not just the gesture, but the van just, it really helped, because at the time we only had one car and the one van, and I had to take Wesley out of the wheelchair, put him in the van, and then take the wheelchair and put it in the back of the van. And now, I just hit a button, the van comes up, and I slide him in. So what I did with the van, I personalized the license plate, and it read "Oh Gift" as a as a thank you to her. Yeah.
That's great. Great.
Oprah, if you're listening, I want to be back on your show again. But I don't want to be there by myself. I want to be there with guys like Bolaji and other dads. So let's do a dad show. Let's do an Oprah show about dads.
Hey, Oprah, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
On that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap. Unfortunately, we don't have a van for you today, Hogan, but we do have a massive thank you. Your story has been inspiring, thought-provoking. You've challenged us dads and moms, and there's going to be a lot of conversation.
Bolaji, you're inspiring too. And, every dad out there, do what you can. And please visit www.dadlyrally.com. We're going to debut the rally in Los Angeles, California next March. We have other cities to follow, Phoenix, St. Louis, Chicago, and New York. But if you want a Dadly Rally in your city, just visit the Dadly Rally website. Contact me with information. You can be an affiliate. Let's get this thing going, guys. And the last thing I'm going to say to all of you guys out there, man, keep on daddying.
You heard it from Hogan. This has been the Bravepreneur Parents Academy. Visit www.dadlyrally.com. That's DADLY rally.com to see the Oprah video from Hogan, to learn more about the rally. It's going to be in several cities. I hope to be at least one of those myself.
Oh, you will be. I'm challenging you. Hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Raleigh next week, too.
That'll be great, Hogan. Thanks a lot, and thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode.
Fear not. Although this chapter of Bravepreneur Parents Academy has come to its conclusion, we have many more adventures for you and your brave little heroes. Head over to bravequest.me for access to the Brave Quest Journal, an interactive activity playbook that rewards your little ones with points for accomplishing tasks that build character and unleash your child's inner superhero all before bedtime. We look forward to having you join us for more adventures next time on Bravepreneur Parents Academy.